You know, there are moments in life when you look back, not with anger, but with quiet understanding. Moments when you realize you let go of something, or someone, that mattered more than you ever admitted at the time. It's strange, isn't it? We live fast, we chase success, we convince ourselves we'll always have time to fix things, to call back, to love better. But sometimes, we don't. And when it comes to relationships, there's one kind of woman every man sooner or later regrets losing, not because she was perfect, but because she was real. Let's talk about her. Let's talk about the type of woman every man remembers long after she's gone. You ever meet someone who makes the noise in your head quiet down? Not because they do something grand or dramatic, but because their very presence just steadies you. The world doesn't feel like it's spinning as fast when they're around. Your shoulders drop, you breathe easier. That's the kind of woman I'm talking about. The one who brings peace, not chaos. She doesn't have to raise her voice to be heard. She doesn't demand attention. She draws it by the way she moves through life, softly, deliberately, with grace. She's not trying to prove she's better, louder, or tougher. She just is. And somehow, that calm confidence becomes magnetic. The truth is, peace doesn't announce itself. It doesn't make an entrance. It settles in quietly, like sunlight slipping through the blinds in the morning. You don't always notice it right away, but once you feel it, you realize how much you've been missing it. Men don't always recognize peace when they have it, especially in a world that tells them love should feel like fireworks, loud, explosive, unpredictable. We're raised to think excitement means passion, and passion means love. But the woman who brings peace teaches you that love doesn't have to hurt to feel real. It doesn't have to be chaos to be deep. She's the kind of person who knows when to talk and when to just listen. When life kicks you around and you don't have the words, she doesn't try to fix you. She just sits with you in the quiet until you remember who you are. And that, right there, that's love in its purest form. Not fixing, not controlling. Just being there, holding space for you to breathe again. I once knew someone like that. I didn't understand it at first. She didn't play games, didn't create drama. She was consistent, steady, in a way that made me uncomfortable because I wasn't used to it. When someone's calm like that, it makes you look at the parts of yourself that are still restless. I mistook that peace for lack of passion. I thought love was supposed to be unpredictable, full of highs and lows, so I chased noise instead of stillness. I didn't realize that peace was passion too, just a deeper, quieter kind. You don't notice the sound of calm until it's gone. After she left, everything else felt louder. Conversations felt forced. The silence after arguments didn't feel like rest. It felt like absence. That's when it hit me. Peace isn't boring. It's balance. It's the thing that keeps everything else standing. There's a study from Harvard that followed people for more than 75 years. It found that emotional stability in a partner was one of the strongest predictors of lifelong happiness for men. Not looks, not money, not social status, emotional stability. The ability to bring calm when life gets messy. It's funny, isn't it? Science proving what the heart already knows. But peace doesn't mean she's passive. Don't get that wrong. The woman who brings peace isn't someone who avoids conflict. She just doesn't feed it. She doesn't argue to win. She speaks to understand. She can raise her voice when it matters, but she doesn't use anger as a weapon. Her calm isn't weakness. It's strength under control. She's the kind of woman who will look you in the eye when you're losing yourself and say, breathe. Not because she's trying to control you, but because she refuses to let the chaos in your head destroy the connection between you. That's rare, because peace, real peace, takes discipline. It takes maturity. It takes a heart that's been through storms and decided never to become one. And when a man loses a woman like that, it changes something in him. The next time he meets someone new, he might find excitement, but he'll notice the difference. The energy will be louder, maybe even intoxicating for a while, but deep down, he'll know it's not the same. It's like switching from ocean waves to a storm. One makes you feel alive, the other wears you down. He'll remember how it felt to come home to stillness, to laughter that didn't sting, to love that didn't make him anxious, and in quiet moments he'll replay memories, how she'd hum while making coffee, how she'd listen without interrupting, how her presence made the world feel safe. Those small, almost invisible things become the ones that echo the loudest after she's gone. See, peace isn't something you find in someone else. It's something you share with them. A woman who brings peace can only do that because she's built it within herself first. She's faced her own storms. She's learned not to be ruled by emotion. She's learned when to walk away and when to stay. That inner calm is hard-earned. It's not luck. It's evolution. And that's what makes her irreplaceable. You can find beauty anywhere. You can find chemistry. You can find passion that burns hot and fast. But peace, that's rare. That's sacred. It's the kind of energy that doesn't demand to be noticed, but once you've had it, nothing else feels quite right. The woman who brings peace teaches you to slow down, to listen before reacting, to choose kindness over ego. She doesn't just love you, she reminds you what it means to love yourself. Because when you're with her, you start wanting to be better, not because she asks you to, but because she makes you feel safe enough to grow. And maybe that's the real reason men regret losing her. Just because of who she was, but because of who they were when she was around. With her, they were calmer, more patient, kinder. She made them believe in gentleness again. She made them remember that strength doesn't have to shout. In a world addicted to chaos, peace feels like a miracle. But it's not a miracle, it's a choice. And the woman who brings peace, she's already made that choice for herself. She chooses understanding over pride, empathy over ego, presence over performance. She chooses to love in a way that steadies, not shakes. And if you ever find a woman like that, treat her like the quiet blessing she is. Because when life gets loud, and it always does, she'll be the one who brings you back to stillness. And when you lose her, you'll realize that all the noise you once mistook for excitement was just distraction. Peace doesn't beg to be seen, but it changes everything it touches, and the woman who carries it within her, she's the kind you never truly stop missing. You ever meet someone who looks at you like they see something you can't see yet? Not with pity, not with blind optimism, but with this quiet certainty that you're capable of more than you realize. There's something powerful about that, because when you don't believe in yourself, and someone still does, it changes you. It plants a seed of possibility. And that kind of belief, that kind of love, is rare. It's the kind of thing you don't appreciate until much later, when you're standing somewhere you never thought you'd reach, and you remember the person who saw it long before you did. The woman who believes in you even when you don't. She doesn't just see your potential, she feels it. It's in the way she listens when you talk about your dreams, even the ridiculous ones. It's in the way she doesn't laugh when you tell her what you want, even if you barely believe it yourself. She looks at you with this calm conviction, like she already knows how the story ends. And somehow that look alone makes you want to fight a little harder to make it real. She doesn't give you empty compliments. She doesn't tell you what you want to hear just to keep the peace. Her belief isn't sugar-coated, it's grounded in truth. She sees your flaws, your fears, the way you doubt yourself, and she chooses to believe anyway. That's what makes it so powerful. She believes not because you're perfect, but because she sees the strength beneath your imperfections. There's this moment that happens in every man's life, that breaking point when everything feels heavy, when the dream starts to feel stupid, when failure seems more certain than success. Most people pull away in those moments. They don't want to get too close to failure, but she stays. She doesn't try to fix it. She doesn't tell you to stop feeling what you feel. She just reminds you of who you are, not with big speeches, but with simple words like, "You've got this, you always have." And somehow you start to believe her. I knew someone like that once. She had this way of seeing through the noise, through all the masks and defenses. When I doubted myself, she didn't push me to be more. She reminded me that I already was enough. That belief didn't make the struggle disappear, but it made it bearable. It gave me the strength to keep going. And I didn't understand the depth of that gift until much later, when the silence of her absence was louder than any doubt I'd ever had. See, we all think we want someone who excites us, someone who makes our heart race. But over time, you realize what you really need is someone who steadies you, someone who holds space for the version of you that isn't finished yet. The woman who believes in you when you don't, she's that anchor. She doesn't let you drown in self-doubt. She's the one who hands you the map when you've forgotten the destination. There was an old interview I once read, a musician talking about the woman he lost. He said she believed in him before the world knew his name. When he was broke, tired, and ready to give up, she kept him focused. She'd leave little notes on his guitar case that said, "Play one more night." Years later, when he finally made it big, he said the applause didn't fill the same space her belief once did. He said fame was loud, but her faith had been quiet, and it was that quiet that he missed the most. That's the thing about her. She doesn't need to take the spotlight. She doesn't need credit. Her belief isn't loud. It's steady, consistent, reliable. And that's what makes it unforgettable. Because when you lose someone like that, it's not the grand gestures you miss. It's the small ones. The way she asked about your day and actually listened. The way she reminded you of your progress when you could only see your failures. The way she celebrated your smallest victories like they were milestones. The woman who believes in you teaches you to believe in yourself, not by telling you what to do, but by holding up a mirror until you finally see what she's seen all along. Her love isn't about fixing you, it's about revealing you. She sees the man you're becoming, even when you're still tripping over the one you were. That kind of faith doesn't fade. It stays with you, even after she's gone. It becomes a voice in your head that says, keep going. There's real data behind this kind of connection. Studies show that people in supportive relationships, where partners express belief and confidence in one another, are more likely to achieve personal and professional success. Because confidence isn't built in isolation. It grows in connection. The right person doesn't give you their strength, they help you find your own. That's what she does. She holds up that emotional mirror until you can finally stand in your own light. She's patient when you're lost. She gives you space when you need to find your footing. And when you stumble, she doesn't say, "I told you so." She says, "I knew you'd get back up." Her belief becomes a safety net, not because she catches you, but because she makes you realize you can catch yourself. But here's the truth. Most men don't face until it's too late. That kind of woman doesn't wait forever. She can carry your doubt for a while, but she can't carry your denial. She can remind you of your worth, but she can't convince you to act on it. And when she finally walks away, it's not because she stopped believing in you. It's because you stopped believing in her belief. And when that happens, it leaves a scar that no success can cover. Years later, when the noise of the world quiets down, and the trophies and titles lose their shine, you'll think back to her, to the way she looked at you when no one else did, to the way she believed when even you couldn't. And that memory will humble you, because you'll realize she didn't love who you were. She loved who you could be. And that's the kind of love you spend the rest of your life trying to earn back, even if she's no longer there to see it. The woman who believes in you when you don't, she's the turning point in every man's story. She's the one who reminds you that greatness doesn't start with being certain. It starts with being seen. And if you ever find someone like that, someone who looks at you with faith instead of fear, hold on to her. Because belief like that doesn't just change your life, it defines it. You know, there's something magnetic about a woman who stands firmly in who she is. She doesn't ask for permission to exist. She doesn't wait to be defined by anyone else. She moves through the world with quiet confidence, not arrogance, just a deep knowing of her worth. That's the kind of woman I'm talking about, the woman who holds her own. She's not looking to be saved. She's not impressed by titles or trophies. She's not searching for validation. She already knows who she is, and that kind of self-assuredness, that inner strength, it changes everyone who crosses her path. She doesn't need to be the loudest in the room to make her presence felt. There's a steadiness to her, a calm that says, I've been through things, I've seen the world, I know how to survive, and that's what makes her captivating. She's not trying to prove herself because she already did. In the silence of her own battles, in the night she wiped her own tears, in the morning she got up even when no one was cheering her on. That's where her strength was built, in private. The woman who holds her own doesn't chase love, she attracts it, because people are drawn to her energy, to that unshakable sense of self. But she's careful with who she lets in. She knows her peace is precious. She's learned that not everyone deserves access to her energy, her time, her softness. And if she gives those parts of herself to you, it means something because she doesn't hand out pieces. of her soul to anyone who asks. She's selective, not because she's cold, but because she's learned the cost of giving too much to people who give too little. She's the kind of woman who can walk beside you, not behind you. She doesn't want to compete with you, but she also won't shrink to make you comfortable. She celebrates your wins, but she expects you to celebrate hers too. She's not afraid to disagree. She'll challenge you when you're wrong, not out of ego, but because she believes in truth. And that kind of honesty, that realness, can be uncomfortable at times. But that's what makes her irreplaceable. When a man meets a woman like that, he learns something about himself. He learns what it means to be with someone who doesn't need him but chooses him. There's power in that choice. Because when love isn't born out of dependence, it's born out of respect. She's not looking for someone to complete her, she's already whole. She's looking for someone to grow with, to build something real with. And when she finds that, she gives it her all. Not out of fear of losing, but out of the courage to love without losing herself. I once knew someone like that. She had a fire in her, not the kind that burns you, but the kind that lights the way. She knew what she wanted, and she wasn't afraid to walk away if something didn't align with her peace. There were times she stood alone, not because she wanted to, but because she refused to settle for less than what she knew she deserved. And at the time, I didn't fully understand that kind of strength. I thought love meant holding on no matter what. But she taught me that sometimes love means knowing when to let go of a fight, of a version of yourself, of a relationship that no longer grows. That kind of woman doesn't need to announce her boundaries. You feel them. They're in the way she says no without guilt, the way she doesn't explain her decisions just to make others comfortable. She's not unkind, she's just clear. And that clarity is rare. It's intimidating for some, inspiring for others. Because when you stand that solid in who you are, it reflects back on everyone around you. You start to show people where they've been settling, where they've been silent, where they've been small. The woman who holds her own isn't afraid to be alone. She doesn't see solitude as emptiness. She sees it as peace. She fills her own time with meaning, her own life with purpose. She knows her worth isn't measured by someone else's attention. And that kind of independence, that wholeness, is a mirror. It forces people to see where they've been hiding from themselves. When a man loses a woman like that, the regret doesn't come from her leaving. It comes from realizing what she represented: stability, growth, maturity, balance. She wasn't asking him to carry her, she was inviting him to walk beside her. And that kind of partnership is rare. It's easy to find someone who wants the attention, the affection, the thrill. But finding someone who wants to build something real, that's different. That's substance. There's something deeply inspiring about how she moves through the world. She doesn't apologize for her ambition. She doesn't dim her light to make others feel brighter. She's learned that her success doesn't take away from anyone else's, and anyone who feels threatened by that isn't meant to stay. She knows her softness isn't weakness, and her strength isn't aggression. She's learned to be both gentle and firm, kind and fierce, loving and independent. You see, she holds her own, not because life has always been kind to her, but because she's learned how to rise even when it wasn't. She's failed, she's fallen, she's been underestimated, and every time she's rebuilt. She doesn't carry bitterness, she carries lessons, and that's what makes her energy different. She's not guarded, she's aware. She doesn't live in fear, she lives with wisdom. Being with a woman like that is a privilege, but it's also a responsibility, because she's not going to settle for someone who only half shows up. She's not impressed by empty promises or temporary passion. She wants consistency, integrity, effort. She's seen what happens when love is only half given, and she refuses to live in that shadow again. She wants a partner who can meet her where she stands, not to compete but to complement. The woman who holds her own reminds you what real connection looks like. It's not about control or power, it's about respect. It's about two people who are complete on their own but stronger together. And when you lose a woman like that, you don't just lose her presence. You lose the mirror she held up that showed you your own potential. You lose the standard she represented. The truth is, she's unforgettable. Because she doesn't just occupy space in your life, she elevates it. She makes you want to show up better, think clearer, love deeper. She's the reminder that strength can be graceful, that independence can be loving, that vulnerability and power can exist in the same heartbeat. And once you've experienced that kind of woman, the one who holds her own, you stop wanting anything less, because you realize that what she gave wasn't just love, it was alignment, it was truth. It was the example of what it means to know who you are and never apologize for it. There's a kind of love that doesn't hide behind charm or perfection. It doesn't try to make you comfortable with lies. It's not there to feed your ego or keep the peace at the cost of truth. It's rare, almost shocking when you first encounter it. The kind of love that holds a mirror to your soul and says, "Here, this is who you are, and I love you anyway." That's what it means to be loved honestly. It's not easy, it's not always pretty, but it's real. The woman who loves you honestly isn't impressed by who you pretend to be. She's not in love with the version of you that smiles for the world. She loves the you that shows up tired, confused, imperfect, and human. She sees through the image you project and connects with the part of you that still has doubts, that still carries wounds. And when she calls you out, not out of judgment, but out of love, it shakes you. Because deep down you know she's right. You know she's seeing something you've been avoiding for a long time. She doesn't sugarcoat her words. She tells the truth even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. Because she knows that honesty is the foundation of anything worth building. And though her words might sting, they always come from a place of care. She's not trying to break you down. She's trying to wake you up. Being loved like that is not for the faint of heart. It demands growth. It demands accountability. It forces you to look at the parts of yourself you'd rather ignore. The ego, the pride, the fear. She's not afraid of your darkness. She just refuses to let it consume you. When you're wrong, she'll tell you. When you're drifting, she'll remind you. When you lose sight of who you are, she'll hand you the compass again. I once knew someone who loved like that. She didn't let me hide behind excuses. I remember the first time she said something I didn't want to hear. It hit me harder than I expected. I got defensive, maybe even angry. But later when I was alone, I realized she wasn't trying to hurt me. She was giving me something most people won't, the truth. And as time passed, I began to see the gift in that, because when everyone else tells you what you want to hear, the one who tells you what you need to hear becomes unforgettable. Honest love isn't about perfection. It's about presence. It's about showing up with truth in your words and integrity in your actions. And that's what she does. She loves you enough to tell you when you're slipping. She loves you enough to stand her ground, even if it means standing against you in that moment. That takes courage. It's easier to stay quiet, to avoid confrontation, to keep things smooth. But she values something deeper than comfort. She values growth. There's this balance she holds, empathy and truth. She knows when to push and when to hold back, when to challenge you, and when to simply listen. She reads between your words, senses the things you're not saying, and even when she calls you out, she does it with tenderness. She doesn't humiliate you. She doesn't use truth as a weapon. She uses it as a bridge, a way back to honesty, back to connection. When you're loved like that, it changes how you see the world. You start to understand that love isn't just about romance or chemistry. It's about truth. It's about having someone who helps you stay real when the world keeps trying to make you fake. It's about being with someone who doesn't just want your highlight reel. They want the whole story. But here's the thing. Being loved honestly can be uncomfortable because it means being seen fully. And sometimes being seen is scarier than being alone. We all crave acceptance, but when someone truly accepts you, flaws and all, it forces you to stop pretending. And when you stop pretending, you have to face who you really are. That's what she gives you. Not comfort, but clarity. There's a moment that happens in every man's life when he looks back and realizes how rare that kind of love was. Maybe he pushed it away because it felt too intense, too revealing. Maybe he mistook her honesty for criticism, her standards for demands. But later, when he's surrounded by people who tell him only what he wants to hear, he'll remember her. The way her words sometimes burned but always healed. The way she saw through his armor and refused to let him hide behind it. When you lose a woman who loved you honestly, you lose more than a partner. You lose your mirror. You lose the person who held you accountable to your best self. the one who called out your potential when you were being small, the one who didn't buy into your excuses, who didn't feed your ego just to keep you close. She was never interested in playing a role. She wanted something real. And once you've experienced that, everything less feels hollow. She didn't love you because you were easy to love. She loved you because she saw something worth fighting for. That's what honest love does. It fights for the truth of who you are, not the illusion you create. And that kind of love, once it's gone, leaves a silence that echoes. Because you'll meet others who flatter you, who go along with your version of the story. But deep down, you'll know. They don't challenge you. They don't push you. They don't make you better. The woman who loves you honestly reminds you that love without truth is just comfort, and comfort fades. But truth, even when it hurts, endures, because it builds trust. It builds respect. It builds something unbreakable. She's not afraid to be real. And that authenticity becomes the standard by which you measure every connection after her. There's beauty in her strength, in the way she can love you fiercely and still demand honesty in return, in the way she forgives without forgetting, in the way she stands up for herself without tearing you down. She knows her worth, and she expects you to know yours too. That's the kind of woman who leaves a mark, not because she gave you everything you wanted, but because she gave you everything you needed to grow. You can't fake love like that. You can't replace it. You can't unlearn it. It teaches you how to be present, how to be accountable, how to love someone back with the same honesty they gave you. And when you finally become that version of yourself, honest, grounded, real, you'll understand that her love wasn't just a chapter. It was the reason you became who you are. She loved you with truth, and there's no love more powerful than that. There's a kind of love that doesn't need reasons. It doesn't ask for proof. It doesn't keep score. It doesn't wait for you to become someone better before it shows up. It's just there, steady, patient, constant. It doesn't change when life gets hard, and it doesn't disappear when you stumble. That's what it means to be loved without conditions. And when a woman loves you like that, really loves you, it changes everything. It changes how you see love, how you see yourself, and how you see the world. She doesn't love the version of you that stands tall and confident, with everything in order. She loves the version that's still figuring it out, the one who's tired, the one who's made mistakes, the one who doesn't have all the answers. Because to her, love isn't about perfection, it's about presence. It's about being there when you least deserve it, because that's when you need it the most. She sees the parts of you you try to hide, the insecurity, the doubt, the fear of not being enough. And she doesn't turn away. She doesn't try to fix you or make you feel small for being human. She just stands there, steady, reminding you that you don't have to earn love. You don't have to perform for it. You don't have to prove yourself every single day. You can just be, and she'll still be there. That's rare. That's sacred. Most of us are taught to love conditionally. We say things like, I'll love you if you change, or I'll stay if you meet my expectations. But she's different. She loves through the storms, through the mistakes, through the seasons when you're not the easiest person to love. She doesn't love what you do for her. She loves who you are when there's nothing left to give. There's a quiet strength in that kind of love. It's not dramatic. It doesn't make grand gestures or demand attention. It's the kind of love that shows up every day in small ways. A text when you're distant, a touch when you're tense, a soft word when you've gone silent. It's the kind of love that says, you don't have to be perfect for me to stay. And that kind of love heals things you didn't even know were broken. I remember knowing someone who loved like that. There were days I didn't recognize myself, times when I was angry, lost, or chasing something that didn't matter. She never lectured me. She didn't try to control me. She just reminded me, with the simplest things, that I mattered, that I was more than the chaos I was carrying. And at the time, I didn't understand what that kind of love really meant. I thought love had to be earned, had to be deserved. But she showed me that real love doesn't wait for you to be perfect. It meets you where you are and walks with you until you remember who you are. She loved with patience, the kind of patience that doesn't come from weakness, but from understanding. She'd seen life, she'd been hurt, but she still chose to love with her whole heart. She knew people change, that love requires forgiveness, that sometimes the best thing you can do for someone is simply stay. And staying, truly staying, takes courage, because it means you're choosing love even when it's not easy, even when it's not convenient. You can't fake that kind of devotion. It's not built on appearances or status or what you have to offer. It's built on connection, on truth, on something deeper than attraction. She doesn't care about what the world sees in you. She cares about the man behind the noise, the man who laughs differently when he's safe, the man who lets his guard down when he's tired, the man who forgets he doesn't have to be strong all the time. She sees him and she loves him. When you've been loved like that, it stays with you. Even if things change, even if life takes you in different directions, you never forget it. Because once someone shows you what unconditional love feels like, you can't unlearn it. It becomes a part of you. It changes the way you love others. It teaches you how to give without expecting, how to forgive without keeping count, how to stay when it would be easier to walk away. But the truth is, most people don't recognize that kind of love when they have it. They mistake it for comfort. They take it for granted. They think it'll always be there no matter what. And then one day, she's gone. Not because she stopped loving, but because she realized love alone can't carry everything. She loved you without conditions, but she couldn't love for you. She couldn't make you see what she already knew, that you were worthy of love long before you earned it. And when that realization hits, it's a kind of silence that doesn't go away. You start to remember the little things. The way she'd stay up just to make sure you got home safe. The way she'd listen, really listen, even when you had nothing new to say. The way she made you feel like the world wasn't as heavy as it seemed. And in those moments, you realize what you lost wasn't just her. It was the version of yourself you were when you were with her. The version that believed again. Unconditional love isn't blind. It sees everything, the flaws, the failures, the broken parts, and chooses to love anyway. That's what makes it so powerful. It doesn't ignore the hard things, it accepts them. It doesn't run from imperfection, it embraces it, because it understands that love isn't about changing someone. It's about growing with them. When she loved you, it wasn't because she needed you to be her everything. It was because she wanted to walk beside you, to be part of your story, to remind you that you weren't alone. And when she smiled at you, when she looked at you like you were worth something, it wasn't about flattery. It was about truth. She saw your worth before you did. She held it in her hands like something fragile and sacred, hoping one day you'd see it too. And maybe that's the hardest part about losing her. Because once you've been loved like that, you start to crave authenticity in everything. You stop chasing people who only love you when it's easy. You stop settling for the kind of affection that depends on what you can provide. You start looking for something real, something like what she gave you. The woman who loves you without conditions doesn't just love you, she awakens you. She teaches you what love really is. Not possession, not control, not perfection, just acceptance, just faith. Just a quiet, unwavering presence that reminds you that even when the world turns cold, there are still hearts brave enough to love without reason. And if you were lucky enough to be loved like that even once, then you carry a piece of that forever. It becomes your compass. It becomes your memory of what it means to be seen, truly seen, and still chosen. Because unconditional love is the rarest thing in the world. And once it's touched your life, nothing else will ever feel the same. So here's the truth. Every man at some point will meet her. Maybe he marries her, maybe he loses her. But he never forgets her. Because she wasn't just another chapter. She was the one that taught him what love really meant. And if you're lucky enough to have that woman in your life now, don't wait until she's gone to realize her worth. Cherish her, protect her peace, match her effort. And never forget, real love isn't about finding someone perfect. It's about recognizing someone real and not letting her slip away.